There are several different ways and places that you can access Blogger. You can either go to blogger.com and you will be brought to a screen that looks like this. Here, if you don't have any sort of Gmail or Google Apps for Education account, you can go up into the right hand corner and use the sign up feature. This will sign you up for a full Google account, so you will then also be given a Google email address and a Google Drive account and all the other Google tools. So if you do not have one of these yet, by signing up for Blogger, you will also get all of those. If you do already have a Google account, you can sign in using that information, and it will just add Blogger to all of the other tools you use with your Gmail account or with your Google account. So you can either use the sign up function here, or I'm actually going to show you how to find Blogger from the home page of any of the other Google Apps accounts. This is a copy of Google Drive. Up here along the top, you can see that I can also access mail or my calendar or any of the other Google functions. Sometimes Blogger is in a little bit different place depending on exactly what version of the Google Apps account you have. Most of the time it is in, if you click more, it's down here and you can click on Blogger. If it's not in this list for you, you would click on even more and then you would be given a really long list and you can find Blogger there. So I'm going to log into my Blogger account from here. This is the very first screen you're given if you have never visited Blogger before. This is a fairly new function to allow you to choose what kind of profile you use. You can either connect it with a Google Plus account if you'd like to go there. If I had a Google Plus picture in here, it would show up right here. Or I can create a separate Blogger profile and create a limited Blogger profile, which gives me the ability to write under a pseudonym. This is really nice if you have students who don't necessarily want to put their real name on it, because that would be a level of anxiety that would prevent them from being able to do their best work. Or if you wanted to do this as a teacher where you wanted to write as someone else, any reason you would want to use a pseudonym or not link this to your full Google account, you can choose that here. I am going to choose, created a limited Blogger profile, Miss Potter, and continue to Blogger. On this screen, and actually all of the screens, there's a lot of information that helps you figure out how to get started with what you want to do. From Blogger, if I would like to access any of my other Google Apps accounts, I click right here in the top right corner, or I can click Create a New Blog. On this Blogger homepage, also along the bottom of the page is where you would find other blogs. If you go to a Blogger blog that has already been established, there's a button that says follow. If you follow those blogs, all of their new blog posts will be listed at the bottom of the screen here for you. So that is where you'll find those. So I'm going to create a new blog. Let's see, Miss Potter's, let's do speech class blog. Miss Potter's speech class blog. And this tells me exactly what my URL is going to be, so if you want it to be different from the title, you can change that. Here in this window, you can pick what you would like your template to be. I'm just going to pick watermark, and then I'm going to click Create Blog. Once you go through these few initial steps, there are literally thousands of ways that you can customize your blog. But once you get started, that is how you get it. Okay, this gives me a little pop-up window that tells me to start posting, but before we do that, I want to show you what some of these are. This orange button is how I can go to create a new post. Here, if I were to click on this little stack of paper, it would take me to the list of all of my posts. If once you have more posts, you will have a list of a lot of them. This drop-down gives me all the different options that I can use with my Blogger account. If I wanted to change the layout, or if I wanted to change the templates, or if I wanted to change the settings, I can do all of that here. Or I can access all of the other information. If I click this View Blog button, that would take me to my URL where I could view my blog if I were a reader. So let's go to create a new post. Okay, this is telling me that I can mention people in my posts and tag them with Google+, which is actually something new. I did not know that. That's really interesting. Okay, so on this screen, you have several different options. This little blogger button takes me back to this symbol right here is the blogger symbol. It would take me back to that page that we were just on. View blog again is my blog on the as a reader would see it. Here is I would put in a title for my post. Publish is obviously publish it, or you can do save if you're not quite ready to publish it yet. I highly suggest you save as often as you possibly remember to. You can also use the Control-S function just as you can in all of the other Google Apps pages. You can do preview. So this doesn't actually post your post you're writing to the web yet, but it'll show you what it looks like. This is really nice when you're doing something like working with images and you're trying to get your layout all set up. Or close just closes the post and takes you back to your Blogger overview. And in here you have your typical editing functions. One thing I want to point out is this link button right here. One of the important features of blogs is the ability to reference other material while you're talking in the context of what you're talking. So if I'm talking about the Cleveland Indians and I want to link to a specific page about the 1997 Cleveland Indians, I could just be typing my paragraph, I'll highlight the text, and I'll link right to the Wikipedia page or the Indians.com page about that topic, so that if my reader is curious or they don't know about why the 1997 Cleveland Indians were important, they can go find out. And if they do, they can just keep reading. So links are an important function of blogs. You also have the option to edit the HTML page. So if you want to do that ever, if you're having trouble getting the layout to be what you want it to be, or you are trying to do something specific, you also have this HTML button option. You can insert images, you can insert video. This creates a jump break. And then the spell checking. So if I were to compose my post, I'll do hello world. Welcome to my blog. You can visit my other blog at EnglishTeacherTechie.com. Okay, and I want to show you here how you can do a link. So any text you want to use as a link, you highlight it, you click the link button, and here, because it was a URL, it actually already created the link for me, so that wasn't very helpful. Or you can view my class website. Let's try this. Link there. Okay, in here I would type the web address, or you can do an email address as well. I'm going to click cancel. Okay, so those are the basic editing and composition functions. You can write in here just as you would write in any other type of web publishing program. This is technically a WYSIWYG program, which means that what you see on the screen is what you get once you publish it or once you preview it, but that's only kind of true when it comes to the images. Depending on the layout of your blog and whatnot, I highly suggest you hit preview as often as you put in a new image or you play with the layout and see what it really looks like, because sometimes it doesn't exactly look like what you're going to get at the end. Okay, these post settings along the right side give you several options. These labels are kind of like hashtags in programs like Facebook or Twitter, or they're like tags if you use a social bookmarking site like Diigo. But you use the labels to give your post a list of topics so that once you have a whole group of posts in your blog, people can look for posts about the same topic by looking for the labels. You don't have to put labels in there. When you're done, you would click done. You can also schedule a post for a future date. If you leave it automatic, then when you hit publish, it will be published. But if you would like to set the date and time to publish for a future time, you can do that. This is helpful if you have a chance, if you are like me and you sometimes write a couple blog posts on the weekend and you want to schedule them throughout the week so that your readers actually have time to read them and they're spaced out. Or if you're doing something for your students or for your parents, such as writing a post about tomorrow's homework that you want to have the post done now, but you don't want to schedule it yet. Okay, this permalink button is something that you would use if you were trying to link to a specific post. So if I wanted to send someone a link that's to just this post, so if I was using a homework post or a post about a specific resource, I can send them the permalink. You can change it if you want, but for the most part, Blogger is pretty straightforward with those, and they do a good job. You can add a location if you'd like to add a location, if you were doing a travel blog or something like that. And then, let me scroll down so I can get back to my options. And then you have other options such as don't allow comments. These are HTML options, and then these are tag options that also work with HTML. So that is the basic layout of Blogger. Once I have put in here everything that I wanted to do and set it up the way that I want it to be, I'm going to click Publish. And now this brings me back to the overview page of my blog. If I had more posts, you would see that I would have more posts here. Once I hover over the title, I can edit the post, I can view the post, I can share it, so this would give me the option to send it to other people through that permalink that I talked about. Or I can delete the post. I also have the ability to delete the post up here. And this gives me an option to sort by labels. Here this tells you the author, so if you were to have a classroom blog where multiple authors were writing, where your students or a group of teachers were writing, it would tell you who had written it, because you can add multiple authors to the same blog. And then these right here tell me my site traffic. This little orange speech bubble tells me how many people have commented, and then this little graph symbol tells me how many people have viewed my page. The viewing your page is really helpful as a classroom teacher because it tells you whether or not people are actually visiting your page, and therefore whether or not they're finding it helpful. On my personal class website, the very first year that I used it, I didn't have any sort of tracking installed, and I had no idea whether people were actually using it. And then during the second year, I found out that only 3 or 4 people during the whole semester were using my site, even though I was putting a ton of work into it. So then I knew I needed to change my approach, and I actually just advertised it more and gave my students an incentive to visit it. Or you can just decide that maybe it's not an effective tool, and it's something that you don't necessarily want to use in your classroom. So these analytics right here, this little graph is really helpful. You can, along this left side menu, you can create a new post. You can look at your pages. These pages are static pages, so something like an About Me page or a classroom contacts page or something like that. This takes you to all the comments. This takes you to your Google Plus account. This is all those stats from that graph. There are a lot of different options for the way that you can look at that. This earnings button is if you have Google... What is it called? Oh, Google AdSense installed. So this earning button is if you have Google AdSense installed. The layout allows you to change the layout of your blog. You can do things like add widgets to the sidebar of a group of your labels, or you can add a link to your Facebook page, or you can do all kinds of fun things with the layout. The template allows you to deal with the more general template overall. This more has to do with the CSS and the styles and the colors and whatnot. And then the settings gives you a lot more settings if you would like to tweak those. So, based on what we've gone over so far, this is all the information you need to get started publishing your own teacher blog.